Ladies and gentlemen, we have a service mishap unfolding on stage. Henry Whitaker snatched the microphone from LaToya Jenkins' hands. Without missing a beat, he grabbed a flute of champagne from the podium and dumped it over her head. The bubbly liquid streamed down LaToya's face and outfit as hundreds of elite guests burst into laughter. Elizabeth Whitaker's phone captured every moment for her livestream. "This is priceless," she squealed to thousands of viewers. William Whitaker pointed and applauded, fueling the crowd's uproarious cheers. Camera flashes exploded across the ballroom like stars. LaToya stood motionless, champagne dripping from her chin. Have you ever witnessed someone's dignity being shattered before an audience of powerful individuals? What you're about to witness will stun you. This black woman's composed comeback just dismantled a billion-dollar dynasty. Hit subscribe for more real-life turnaround stories and drop in the comments. Where are you watching from, and what time is it there? The ballroom pulsed with the kind of energy only old money could buy. Crystal chandeliers dangled like oversized diamonds, casting golden flecks across tuxedos and gowns that screamed, "I own islands." Laughter bounced off marble floors, glasses clinked in toasts to tax loopholes, and somewhere in the mix, a string quartet played covers of hits nobody admitted to liking. This was the annual Green Energy Gala, where billionaires patted themselves on the back for saving the planet while flying private jets. Henry Whitaker stood center stage, bow tie straight as a board, flashing that trademark grin that had sealed deals worth more than some countries' GDPs. Henry was the king of renewable energy, or so he liked to think. Whitaker Energy had cornered the solar market, turning sunlight into billions. At 62, he still had that silver fox vibe, hair perfectly gelled, jawline chiseled from years of boardroom battles. His son William, mid-30s and built like he hit the gym between stock trades, hovered nearby, clapping investors on the back with a laugh that echoed too loudly. Elizabeth, his daughter, early 20s and Instagram famous, fiddled with her phone, diamonds glinting on her fingers as she angled for the perfect selfie. "This crowd is fire," she muttered, lips pursed in that influencer pout. The Whitakers owned the room, or at least acted as if they did. LaToya Jenkins slipped in through a side door, her simple black dress blending with the shadows. No flashy jewels, no designer labels screaming for attention, just a sleek briefcase and a Patek Philippe watch hidden under her sleeve, worth more than most people's houses. She was here to keynote, but the event coordinator had botched the intro, leaving her to navigate the sea of elites alone. Heads turned, not in admiration, but with that subtle side eye. A waiter bumped her shoulder, mistaking her for staff. "Hey, grab more champagne from the back," he whispered. LaToya's jaw tightened, but she forced a nod, biting back the urge to correct him. Not now. Not yet. She made her way to the podium, heart pounding like a drum in her chest. The spotlights hit her skin, warm and unforgiving. She adjusted the mic, clearing her throat. "Ladies and gentlemen," but before she could get another word out, Henry Whitaker strode up like he owned the damn stage, which in his mind he did. "Whoa there, miss," Henry boomed, his voice cutting through the chatter like a chainsaw. He snatched the microphone from her grip, fingers brushing hers with casual disregard. The crowd hushed, sensing drama. William chuckled from the sidelines, leaning into Elizabeth. "What's this? Kitchen staff takeover?" Elizabeth whipped out her phone, hitting record. "Oh my God, this is gold, live streaming now." Henry leaned in, bow tie bobbing as he sized LaToya up. Her dress was elegant but understated. No sequins, no plunge neckline like the other women. To him, she looked like help. "Folks, looks like we've got a little mix-up here," he announced, his southern drawl dripping with fake charm. The audience tittered, a few outright laughs bubbling up. An oil baron at table 3 whispered loud enough for nearby ears. "How'd she sneak up there? Security asleep?" LaToya stood frozen, champagne flutes tinkling around her like mocking bells. Heat rose in her cheeks, but she locked it down, eyes steady on Henry. Inside, fury simmered, a lifetime of microaggressions boiling over. But she wouldn't give him the satisfaction, not with hundreds watching. Henry grabbed a glass from the podium, the bubbly fizzing over the rim. "This is why we stick to protocols, people," he said, turning his back to her like she was invisible. "The service entrance is that way, sweetheart. Kitchen staff shouldn't be wandering up here. The crowd erupted. Claps, whoops, even a "here, here" from the back. William pointed, his face splitting into a grin. "Dad's on fire tonight." Elizabeth's live stream chat exploded. LOL dying. Billionaire shade. She looks so out of place. Latoya's briefcase sat at her feet, the subtle JI monogram catching a glint of light. She reached into her pocket for a silk handkerchief, wiping the invisible slight from her brow. Her watch ticked silently, a $200,000 reminder of who she really was. But nobody noticed. The event coordinator, a flustered woman named Karen, rushed up the steps, tablet in hand. "Mr. Whitaker, wait, there's a mistake." Henry waved her off. "The only mistake is letting folks like this pass the velvet rope." "Handle it, Karen." Elizabeth narrated to her growing audience, now at 10,000 viewers. "You guys, this waitress thinks she's a speaker. The nerve." Comments flooded. "Secondhand cringe. Call security. This is why we screen better." A business reporter from Forbes, Mark Thompson, paused mid-bite at table 5. Something about Latoya's poise bugged him. She didn't flinch like someone caught off guard. Her phone buzzed in her pocket. A Bloomberg alert. "Jenkins Innovations shares up 25% on merger buzz." She ignored it, eyes locked on Henry. "This is what happens when people forget their lane," Henry declared, microphone amplifying his arrogance. Heads nodded, purses rustled as phones came out to capture the moment. Latoya finally spoke, her voice clear and steady. "Mr. Whitaker, are you sure about this?" He scoffed, adjusting his cufflinks. "Document it all you want, honey. Everyone needs to see what happens when the help gets uppity." The laughter peaked, a wave crashing over her. Elizabeth cackled. "She's gonna report us. To whom, Yelp?" Latoya's phone buzzed again. CNN Business. "Major deal announcement imminent." Karen scrolled her tablet frantically, face paling. "Sir, the guest list. It's Latoya Jenkins, CEO of—" "Not now," Henry snapped. Security Chief Mike Torres climbed the stage, hand on his radio. "Ma'am, time to go." But before Mike could touch her, Henry raised the champagne glass high, keeping things in order. And with a theatrical flourish, he poured it over Latoya's head. The liquid cascaded down her face, soaking her hair, dripping onto her dress. The ballroom roared. Flashes popped. Cheers echoed. Elizabeth's viewer count hit 30,000. Latoya stood there, champagne trickling down her chin, the cold sting mixing with hot rage. But her eyes burned with something else. Calculation. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Champagne soaked through Latoya's hair, cold rivulets snaking down her neck and into her collar. The sting hit her skin like a slap, but she didn't flinch. The ballroom's roar washed over her, laughs sharp as knives, claps thundering like applause for a bad joke. Henry Whitaker stood there, empty glass in hand, basking in it all like he'd just nailed a TED Talk. "See what I mean, folks?" he bellowed into the mic, his voice booming off the walls. "This is why we keep the help in the back. No offense, but you gotta know your spot." Latoya's pulse hammered in her ears, a steady drumbeat drowning out the chaos. Rage bubbled up, hot and familiar, the kind that came from 1,000 boardrooms where she'd been the only black face, the only one questioned twice. But she swallowed it, forcing her lips into a thin line. Break now, and they win. She wiped a drip from her eye with deliberate slowness, her silk handkerchief absorbing the mess without a tremble. William Whitaker strutted closer, his designer shoes clicking on the marble like he owned the joint. Mid-30s with that trust fund smirk, he pointed at Latoya like she was Exhibit A. "Ma'am, the service door's marked clear as day. Kitchen crew shouldn't crash the main event." His laugh barked out, egging on the crowd. From table 8, a tech mogul in a velvet jacket leaned over to his date. "How'd catering slip through? This is mortifying for the gala." Whispers rippled like wildfire. "Embarrassing? Security flop. Charity's gonna take a hit." Elizabeth's live stream was blowing up, viewer count jumping to 45,000 in seconds. She angled her phone for the best shot, diamonds flashing under the lights. "You guys, this server legit thought she could grab the mic. Talk about clueless." Her voice squealed with that fake excitement influencers peddled. The chat exploded. "OMG roasting. She looks wrecked. Billionaire vibes only." Elizabeth high-fived William, her brother nodding along. Dad's schooling her well. This'll go viral. Henry adjusted his bow tie, leaning into the mic with that cocky tilt. Ladies and gents, this right here, classic case of folks not getting the memo. Standards matter. The audience murmured agreement, wine glasses clinking in solidarity. Phones popped out everywhere, capturing the drip-drip of champagne from LaToya's chin onto the stage. She stood stock still, briefcase gleaming beside her, the J.I. monogram mocking the whole scene. Her watch caught the spotlight, a quiet flex nobody clocked. Event coordinator Karen hustled up the steps again, face red as a tomato. Sir, huge mix-up. Henry cut her off with a wave. The mix-up's letting unqualified types up here. Fix it, Karen. Elizabeth narrated live. Peeps, she's acting like she belongs with the real deal. The audacity. Chat went wild. Cringe city. Fire her. This is why we vet. Mark Thompson from Forbes nursed his scotch at table 5, eyebrows knitting. The woman's stance bugged him. No panic, no tears. Just that eerie calm. LaToya's phone vibrated against her thigh. Bloomberg ping. Jenkins Innovation surges 23% on acquisition rumors. She let it buzz, eyes drilling into Henry's back. This happens when people don't know their place, Henry preached, turning the crowd into his choir. We got rules for a reason. Nods all around, a sea of approval from folks who'd never waited a table in their lives. More phones emerged, videos rolling from every angle. LaToya spoke up, her voice slicing through the noise like a knife through butter. Mr. Whitaker, you positive you want this on record? Henry snorted. Record away, darling. The world needs to see what happens when staff get big ideas. Elizabeth howled into her phone. She's threatening us? To whom does he complain? Laughter crested again, a tidal wave. LaToya's phone buzzed once more. CNN alert. Big merger news dropping Monday. Karen scrolled her tablet in a frenzy, fingers shaking. Sir, guest list says keynotes LaToya Jenkins, CEO. Handle the situation, not me, Henry barked. Security Chief Mike Torres loomed closer, hand hovering near his radio. Ma'am, let's step off nice and easy. LaToya met his eyes, unblinking. Champagne still glistened in her curls, but her posture screamed control. Before Mike could grab her arm, she reached for her handkerchief again, dabbing her face with precision. The crowd's jeers faded into background static in her mind. This wasn't her first rodeo. Growing up in Chicago's South Side, she'd learned to turn humiliation into fuel. But tonight, this was next level. She pocketed the cloth, voice steady. Before security hauls me off, mind if I make one quick call? Henry laughed, gesturing grandly. Call your boss, your mom, whoever. Damage is done. Hundreds here. Thousands watching. Can't spin this. Elizabeth's viewers hit 89,000, comments flying. She's dialing her manager. Firing incoming. Reality TV gold. Karen stared at her tablet in horror. Keynote, LaToya Jenkins, CEO, Jenkins Innovations. Major acquisition announcement. She tugged Henry's sleeve. Sir, we gotta... He shrugged her off, too busy playing to the gallery. LaToya pulled her phone, thumb scrolling through contacts with that same icy calm. Her lips twitched, just a hint of a smile. This call? It was gonna flip the script, but she kept it locked down, finger hovering. The ballroom hung on the edge, anticipation thick as fog. LaToya's thumb paused on the contact labeled legal priority. The ballroom hung in suspended animation, Henry's laugh still echoing faintly, Elizabeth's phone trained on her like a weapon. Champagne clung to her skin, sticky and cold, but she ignored it, pressing the dial with a flick. The ringtone pierced the speakers, once sharp and electronic. Viewers on Elizabeth's stream spiked to 100,000, comments blurring. Who's she calling? Boss gonna fire her ass. This is peak drama. Henry waved dismissively, mic in hand. Go ahead, make your call. The world's watching how the real game plays out. Actions have consequences. William smirked, arms crossed, whispering to Elizabeth. Bet she's begging for her job. Karen, the coordinator, stared at her tablet like it was a bomb, mouthing CEO to Henry, but he ignored her, too wrapped in his spotlight. The phone rang twice. LaToya hit the speaker, the sound blasting across the room. She locked eyes with Henry, her voice cool as steel. "This is your last shot to back off, Mr. Whitaker." He threw his head back, guffawing. "Back off? Honey, we're just getting started." Mike Torres, security, stepped forward, hand outstretched. "Ma'am, end it and come with—" She held up a finger, authoritative enough to freeze him mid-step. The third ring cut through. "Connect," she said into the phone. A crisp voice answered, amplified for all to hear. "Miss Jenkins, right on time. Ready for the announcement rundown?" The name hit like a whisper in a hurricane. Jenkins. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Elizabeth's chat went berserk. "Jenkins? As in Jenkins Innovations?" Plot twist. Henry's smirk faltered for a split second, but he recovered, signaling Mike. "Get her off now." But Mike hesitated, something in the voice nagging at him. Like boardroom talk, not kitchen chatter. "Before we dive in," LaToya continued, her tone unwavering despite the damp curls framing her face, "confirm the acquisition details for the room." The voice, her legal assistant Alex, replied without missing a beat. "Sure thing, Ms. Jenkins. Jenkins Innovations' $1.2 billion buyout of Whitaker Energy. Press release drops tomorrow a.m. Silence slammed down like a gavel. Hundreds of conversations died mid-word. Glasses hovered at lips. Forks clattered to plates. Even the quartet in the corner missed a note. Henry's face drained white. Bow tie suddenly too tight. "Whitaker Energy? You can't be—" he stammered, Mike slipping in his grip. Elizabeth's phone trembled in her hands, viewer count rocketing past 150,000. "Wait, what?" she hissed, chat exploding. "Holy shit, she's the buyer. They just fucked up royally." William grabbed his dad's arm. "Dad, Jenkins Innovations, that's the tech giant sniffing around our shares." Alex's voice pressed on through the speakers. "Also, confirm the new diversity protocols for post-acquisition leadership." LaToya nodded, though no one could see the fire in her eyes, the years of grinding through Silicon Valley's glass ceilings fueling this moment. "Yes, all exec teams must hit inclusion benchmarks. Failures disqualify from the deal." The Whitaker execs at the head table bolted upright, phones lighting up with urgent texts. VP Sarah Klein whispered to her peer, "That's her? The CEO we've been courting?" Mark Thompson from Forbes was already jotting notes, pulse racing. This wasn't humiliation anymore. It was a scoop. Henry's knees buckled a tad, but he caught himself on the podium. "This is some kind of joke?" LaToya met his gaze, champagne drying in streaks on her dress. "No joke, Mr. Whitaker. You've been negotiating with my team for months." Karen shoved her tablet under Henry's nose. "See? Keynote. LaToya Jenkins, CEO, Jenkins Innovations." His eyes widened, color fleeing his cheeks. The crowd shifted uneasily, murmurs building. "She's buying them out?" "They poured champagne on the boss?" Alex continued, oblivious to the chaos. "Timeline's tight. Contracts by Friday, or kill clauses kick in." LaToya's mind raced ahead, calculating the fallout, but she kept her face neutral. This was her arena now, strategy over spectacle. Elizabeth desperately swiped to end her stream, but shares were flying across platforms. "Dad, if she's real," Henry hissed back, voice cracking. "Impossible. We'd know." LaToya's phone conversation boomed on. "Alex, status on the emergency board call?" "Set for Monday, Ms. Jenkins. Whitaker board votes on leadership fit as a deal condition." Gasps echoed. Real ones, not the polite kind. Henry's hands shook, mic feedback screeching briefly. Victoria, no, wait, Elizabeth, dropped her phone with a clatter, but it kept streaming. Comments, karma alert. They're toast. This is going viral AF. Sarah Klein stood, face ashen. "Henry, we need to huddle. Now." But Henry froze, the mic limp in his fist. The weight hit him like a freight train, his empire on the line, all because of one bad assumption. LaToya watched it sink in, her own heart steady. Humiliation, she'd turned it into leverage. "One more thing, Alex," she said, voice cutting clear. "Remind me of the leadership compatibility clause." "Depends on tonight, Ms. Jenkins. Any red flags on inclusion could tank the whole thing." Henry's mouth gaped like a fish out of water. Elizabeth burst into quiet sobs and William paced. The ballroom's energy flipped, from mockery to morbid fascination. Mark Thompson texted his editor. Breaking. Discrimination derails billion-dollar deal. Latoya's finger hovered over end call, but she paused, letting the tension build. Alex, I'll circle back in 10 with my call. She hung up, the click echoing like a verdict. The room stayed dead quiet, eyes on her. This was just the start, the mystery unfolding into mayhem. The silence in the ballroom stretched like a rubber band about to snap. Latoya pocketed her phone, champagne stains darkening her dress, but her stance screamed unflappable. Henry's face twisted, a mix of confusion and dawning dread, his bow tie askew now. Jenkins Innovations? Buying us out? He croaked, mic feedback whining as his grip tightened. William paced a tight circle, phone glued to his ear, whispering frantic orders to some underling. Elizabeth fumbled her device, thumbs smashing buttons to kill the stream, but it was too late. Shares had spread like wildfire across Twitter, LinkedIn, everywhere. Latoya stepped forward, her heels clicking sharply against the marble, voice level as a judge's gavel. That's right, Mr. Whitaker. We've been in talks for months. Your team rolled out the red carpet for my reps. She let that sink in, eyes scanning the stunned crowd. Hundreds of elites frozen mid-sip, realizing they just witnessed a corporate train wreck. Henry's throat bobbed, sweat beading on his forehead under the hot lights. But the deal, it's friendly, right? I stay on as CEO? His words tumbled out, desperate for a lifeline. Latoya's lips curved. Just a hint, not a smile, more like a predator spotting weakness. That was plan A smooth merger where you keep your corner office and guide the transition. Whitaker Energy folds into Jenkins Innovations. You pocket a fat golden parachute. Whispers erupted again, low and buzzing. Mark Thompson from Forbes typed furiously, his editor already blowing up his notifications. Get quotes. This is front page gold. At the head table, VP Sarah Klein stood, her face pale as milk. Henry, confirm this. Our board's been greenlighting due diligence. Shut it, Henry snapped at her, but his voice cracked, lacking the old bark. He turned back to Latoya, forcing a chuckle that fell flat. Plan A sounds solid. We can iron out the kinks privately. The crowd leaned in, phones still rolling covertly, capturing every flinch. Latoya crossed her arms, the JI monogram on her briefcase gleaming like a badge. Inside, satisfaction burned. Years of outmaneuvering sharks like him paying off in this moment. Plan A assumed leadership compatibility, inclusive practices, no red flags on discrimination. She gestured at her soaked dress, champagne flakes crusting her hair. Your little stunt? That's a glaring red flag. Poured bubbly on my head, called me a help in front of everyone. That's not just rude, it's a deal breaker waiting to happen. Elizabeth finally hit end on her stream, but the damage was done. Her phone buzzed nonstop, notifications from retweets, tags, viral clips. Dad, it's everywhere, she whimpered, scrolling through the chaos. Screenshots flooded feeds. Eeyore's Champagne Gate trending, memes of Henry's pour going nuclear. Stock alerts, Whitaker Energy down 5% after hours already. William's face drained, checking his own app. Make that 7%. Institutional sellers are dumping shares. We're hemorrhaging. Henry swayed, grabbing the podium for support. This can't... We didn't know who you were. His excuse hung lame in the air, the crowd's murmurs turning judgmental. A venture capitalist at table 2 whispered loud enough. Idiot just tanked his own company. Karen, the coordinator, backed away slowly, tablet clutched like a shield, her career flashing before her eyes. Latoya's voice cut through, steady and surgical. The guest list had my name clear as day. Your coordinator tried warning you, twice. She nodded at Karen, who nodded back weakly. But you bulldozed ahead because of how I look. That's not oversight. That's bias biting you in the ass. The room's energy shifted, from shock to uneasy reckoning. Phones dinged with market updates. Whitaker plunges 10% on viral video scandal. Elizabeth burst into tears, mascara streaking. I didn't mean... The stream was just for fun. William pulled her close, but his own hands shook. Dad, we gotta spin this. PR team's blowing up my line. Henry's mind raced, flashbacks of boardroom triumphs crumbling under this black woman's gaze. He'd built Whitaker from a garage startup to a green energy powerhouse, schmoozing senators and sealing deals over golf. Now, one bad call, and it unraveled. Ms. Jenkins, he tried, voice pitching higher. Surely we can talk this out. Plan A is still on the table? Latoya tilted her head, calculating the leverage in real time. Plan A required trust. You humiliated me live, broadcast to thousands. Actions have consequences, financial ones. She pulled her phone, glancing at the screen. Bloomberg ticker showing Whitaker's freefall. Your stock's tanking as we speak. Clients pulling out? That's next. Sarah Klein approached the stage, heels echoing in the hush. Ms. Jenkins, what's it take to salvage Plan A? Her tone begged, the exec mask cracking. Latoya paused, letting the question hang. The crowd's breath held. Public accountability, bias training for your whole C-suite, diversity metrics tied to bonuses, and a genuine apology, not some PR fluff. Henry's jaw clenched, ego warring with survival. Apologize? Here? Elizabeth sobbed louder, William hushing her. The viral storm raged on, media outlets picking up the clip, headlines drafting, Billionaire dumps champagne on CEO in racist mix-up. Stock alerts pinged across the room, down 12%, trading halted, whispers starting. Latoya stood tall, the damp fabric clinging, but her resolve was relentless. This wasn't revenge, it was business. She'd clawed her way from Southside projects to a tech titan, turning slights into stepping stones. Now Whitaker's slip-up handed her the keys. You've got minutes to decide, Mr. Whitaker. Clock's ticking. Your empire's on it. The tension coiled tighter, family's unease palpable. Henry's sweat-slick palms, William's frantic texts, Elizabeth's muffled cries. The ballroom watched, a powder keg of fallout, as Plan A's fragility lay bare. Henry's knuckles whitened on the podium, his empire crumbling in real time under Latoya's steady gaze. The ballroom's hush felt like the calm before a storm, phones still buzzing with stock alerts. Whitaker energy down another 3%, whispers of trading halts rippling through the crowd. Minutes, he echoed, voice hoarse, like he'd swallowed gravel. Ms. Jenkins, let's not rush. Plan A, we can tweak it, make it work. Sweat trickled down his temple, soaking his collar, the silver fox facade cracking like cheap paint. Latoya stood unmoved, arms still crossed, the faint scent of champagne lingering like a bad memory. Her mind ticked like a chess clock, every second eroding his leverage. She'd built Jenkins Innovations from a bootstrap startup in a Chicago co-working space, outsmarting venture bros who dismissed her pitches. Now this? Payback wrapped in strategy. Rush? You didn't hesitate to dump that glass on me. Publicly, with your family cheering. Elizabeth sniffled, wiping her eyes with a shaky hand. Mascara tracks like war paint. It was a mistake, she mumbled, voice small for the first time all night. William shot her a glare, then turned to Latoya, trying to channel his dad's old charm. Look, we apologize deeply. Let's take this off stage, hash it out over coffee or something. But his words rang hollow, phone vibrating in his pocket, board members probably freaking out. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, a few elites slipping toward exits, not wanting to get splashed by the fallout. Mark Thompson from Forbes leaned forward, pen flying. This twist was Pulitzer bait. Sarah Klein, the VP, hovered at the stage edge, her tablet glowing with urgent emails. Henry, market's reacting. We need damage control. Now! Latoya's eyes narrowed, voice dropping low but carrying like thunder. Damage? That's on you. Plan A was generous. Your leadership intact, synergies boosting both companies. But your bias? It just activated Plan B. She let the words hang, watching Henry's face crumple, the crowd's murmurs swelling. Plan B? Henry stammered, leaning heavier on the podium, legs wobbling like he'd been gut-punched. What's that mean? Elizabeth froze, mid-swipe on her phone, fresh tears welling. William's jaw dropped, the trust fund confidence evaporating. LaToya uncrossed her arms, stepping closer, her presence filling the stage. Hostile takeover. No more friendly chats. Jenkins Innovations has been your biggest shareholder for 8 months. Quiet buys all above board. We control 67% of voting shares now. Gas punched the air, sharp and collective. Phones lit up brighter, fingers tapping shares of the revelation. Henry's world tilted, flashbacks hitting hard. Quarterly reports he'd skimmed, assuming small investors were nobodies. 67%? That's impossible. Board would have flagged it. His voice pitched up, desperate, hands gesturing wildly. LaToya's lips twitched again. That predator glint. Perfectly legal. Your board approved the transactions piecemeal. Pension funds, institutional holders. They sold out because your outdated leadership's been bleeding cash. She pulled facts like weapons, voice steady despite the dried champagne flaking off her skin. Inside, adrenaline surged. This was the kill shot she'd prepped for, turning their arrogance into her ace. William grabbed Henry's arm, steadying him. Dad, if she's got control, Elizabeth whimpered, we're screwed. The head table erupted in low chaos. Execs huddling, phones to ears. Sarah Klein climbed the steps, face ghostly. Ms. Jenkins, confirm holdings. This changes everything. Everything, LaToya agreed, turning to address the room directly, her poise a masterclass. With 67%, I can call an emergency shareholder meeting. Vote no confidence, boot the entire board, including you, Mr. Whitaker. Restructure Whitaker Energy as our subsidiary. No input needed from you. The words landed like bombs, the crowd recoiling, a few whistles of shock from the back. Henry's breath came in short bursts, chest heaving. You can't just... That's my company. Built it from nothing. Rage flashed in his eyes, but fear drowned it, knees nearly buckling. He envisioned it all vanishing. The yachts, the estates, the legacy he'd bragged about at country clubs. LaToya met his stare, unflinching. Your company, shareholders own it now, and they've been itching to dump you. Quarterly losses up 15%, employee churn sky high, clients bailing over cultural issues. She air-quoted the last, driving the knife. Your board's been plotting your exit for 6 months. I just handed them the ammo. Murmurs turned to outright buzz. Hostile? Brutal. Whitaker's toast. Mark Thompson's notes blurred with speed. Elizabeth collapsed into a chair someone dragged over, sobbing openly. Daddy, fix this. William paced faster, dialing his lawyer, voice cracking on voicemail. Henry lunged forward a step, then caught himself, desperation raw. Please, Ms. Jenkins, we can negotiate. Drop plan B, I'll do whatever. His hands clasped like prayer, the mic forgotten, voice a rasp. The kingdom was reduced to a beggar, the empire slipping through his fingers. LaToya paused, letting him stew, the room's tension electric. She'd waited for this. Not just tonight's slight, but a career of them. Negotiate? After you broadcast my humiliation? Your call triggered this. Now beg all you want. The board meets Monday. Your reign ends. Henry trembled, full body shakes, the weight crushing him. I built this. Lose everything. Tears pricked his eyes, unbidden. The crowd watched in stunned silence, a corporate execution unfolding live. Henry's plea hung in the air like a bad check, his eyes pleading with LaToya as if she held his life in her hands, which, in a way, she did. The ballroom silence pressed in, broken only by Elizabeth's muffled sobs and the distant clink of a nervous waiter dropping silverware. LaToya stood there, champagne crust flaking off her dress, her expression a mask of cool calculation. She'd rehearsed this in her head 1,000 times. Not this exact mess, but the power flip against folks like him. Begging now? Cute. But plan B's in motion unless you meet my terms. Harsh ones. Henry's shoulders slumped, the fight leaking out like air from a punctured tire. Terms? Name 'em. I'll sign anything. His voice cracked, the once booming tycoon reduced to whispers. William hovered close, face ashen, shooting glances at Sarah Klein, who nodded subtly. Better to bend than break. The crowd watched, riveted, as a few jotting notes like this was a masterclass in corporate carnage. LaToya paced a slow circle, heels echoing like countdown ticks, building the pressure. First off, public apology. Not some half-assed tweet, full press release and social media blast within 18 hours. Admit the racism, the humiliation, the whole shebang. She locked eyes with Henry, watching him swallow hard, Adam's apple bobbing like a yo-yo. 18 hours, Henry echoed, panic flashing. That's not enough time for legal to vet. LaToya cut him off with a raised hand. You had seconds to dump that glass on me. 18 hours is a gift. Make it count, or Plan B locks in. Elizabeth lifted her head, eyes red-rimmed, voice quivering. What about us? The family? LaToya turned to her, no sympathy in sight. You live-streamed it, egged him on. Whole family's in. Mandatory anti-bias training, not some online course. Full sessions with independent experts. Dr. Elena Ramirez is at the top of the field. Documented, verified, or no deal. William bristled, stepping up. Training? Like sensitivity boot camp? We're execs, not kids. His tone dripped entitlement, but fear undercut it. Visions of his cushy VP gig vanishing. LaToya's gaze drilled into him. Execs who just nuked your stock. Yeah, boot camp. 40 hours each, plus your board. Failed a show, and we pull the plug. The head table buzzed. Sarah Klein whispering urgently to other suits, phones lighting up with crisis texts. Mark Thompson from Forbes grinned inwardly, this scoop evolving into a saga. Henry's mind spun, calculating losses, reputation shredded, board revolt brewing. He'd schmoozed his way through scandals before, but this? A black CEO holding the reins, his worst boardroom nightmare. More, LaToya pressed on, voice like velvet over steel. Company-wide overhaul. Appoint a chief diversity officer, board-level power, reports directly to me during transition. Tie exec bonuses to inclusion metrics, diverse hires, retention rates, zero-tolerance policies. She ticked them off on her fingers, each one a nail in his coffin. Henry's face grayed, his hands trembling as he gripped the mic stand. Bonuses tied to diversity? That's micromanaging my shop. Rage flickered, but survival snuffed it. LaToya leaned in, close enough to see the sweat pores on his forehead. Your shop's sinking because of crap like tonight. Outdated culture, high turnover. Your quarterly reports scream it. This fixes that, or we gut it under Plan B. Elizabeth stood suddenly, wobbling on her heels. This is revenge. You're punishing us for a mix-up. Tears streamed, but defiance sparked in her eyes, the influencer fighting back. LaToya met it head-on. Mix-up? You called me clueless, broadcast to thousands. This ain't revenge, it's business. Discrimination tanks companies. Data proves it. Diverse teams boost revenue 35%. Yours lagging because of blind spots like yours. William pulled Elizabeth back, his own resolve cracking. Dad, we gotta take it. Stock's down 15%, clients bailing. Henry nodded weakly, the weight crushing him. Memories flooded. Building Whitaker from scratch. Late nights in that garage, dreaming big. Now handing keys to her? Gut-wrenching. One last kicker, LaToya added, twisting the knife. Any slip-ups post-deal? More bias, violations, triggers Plan B automatically. No appeals. We take over, restructure, and drop valuation to 800 mil. You walk with scraps. The crowd gasped again, murmurs swelling. Brutal. She's owning him, Sarah Klein interjected, voice steady but urgent. Ms. Jenkins, for Plan A, financial stay at 1.2 bill? LaToya nodded. Contingent on full compliance. SEC filings within the hour, contracts ready for e-sign. Henry's legs gave a little, sinking into the chair someone shoved behind him. We accept. The words choked out, bitter as bile. Elizabeth buried her face in her hands, William rubbing her back, his own eyes glassy. The family dynasty is bending the knee, live for all to see. LaToya picked up her briefcase, the JI monogram a silent triumph. Smart choice. Alex will send the framework, apology template included. Clock starts now. She glanced at her watch, the 200K piece ticking ominously. Henry's head bowed, defeat etched deep. This wasn't just terms, It was transformation, forced and fierce. The room exhaled collectively, tension easing into uneasy acceptance. Henry muttered to Sarah, "Get legal on it. We comply, or lose it all." Latoya watched, satisfaction simmering, this shift from showdown to surrender, her strategy sealing the deal. Months ticked by like a stock ticker on steroids, and Whitaker Energy didn't just survive, it exploded. Boardrooms buzzed with fresh ideas from a revamped team, diverse hires pumping out innovations that jacked revenue up 23% in the first quarter alone. Employee turnover plummeted, folks sticking around because the toxic vibes got flushed out, replaced by real talk on inclusion. Posters lined the halls. Diversity drives us forward. QR codes for anonymous reports popping up in every break room. Henry Whitaker stared at his reflection in the executive washroom mirror, dark circles fading, but the man looking back, worlds away from the gala night asshole. He straightened his tie, same bow style, but looser now, and headed to the training center. Dr. Elena Ramirez waited, tablet in hand, her no-nonsense stare cutting through bullshit. "Mr. Whitaker, describe your mindset when you first spotted Ms. Jenkins on stage." Henry shifted in his seat, the leather creaking under him. Sweat pricked his palms, flashbacks hitting, the pour, the laughs, his empire teetering. "I assumed based on looks. Thought she didn't fit. Race, outfit, stupid stuff." His voice dropped, shame twisting his gut like a bad deal. Elena nodded, jotting notes. "And how's that impacted your decisions?" Henry leaned forward, elbows on knees. "Blinded me. Overlooked talent, chased away clients with that old boy's crap. Cost us millions." He rubbed his jaw, the weight lifting a fraction. This wasn't punishment. It was rewiring. 40 hours in, and he'd started seeing blind spots everywhere. His first session? Brutal. Tears he hadn't shed since his dad's funeral. Now, progress, raw and real. Across town at Jenkins Innovations HQ, Latoya leaned back in her corner office chair, scanning the latest Whitaker report. Her assistant poked his head in. "Ms. Jenkins, Microsoft's team is here for the 2 p.m. on their overhaul." She nodded, a quiet smile cracking her focus. The champagne-stained dress hung framed on her wall, a trophy reminder. Turn slights into empires. Her phone buzzed, Harvard requesting another case study lecture. She typed back quickly, "Book it." Back at Whitaker, the emergency board meeting wrapped, Sarah Klein addressing the directors with a grin that hadn't shown in years. Integrations humming, employee retention at 94%, way above projections. Clients stabilizing, morale surveys off the charts. Board member Jamal Hayes raised a hand. "Financials," Sarah beamed. "Positive. Inclusion tweaks spotted 3 pipeline glitches. Revenue growth beats forecast by 23%. Nods around the table. The air lighter. No more cutthroat whispers about dumping Henry. Henry sat at the end, taking it in, his transformation hitting home. From arrogant kingpin to advocate, he dove headfirst into the program. Speeches now? He hit the circuit, mic in hand, at conferences. "Folks, I screwed up big time," he'd say, voice steady but humble. "I poured champagne on a powerhouse CEO because of my biases. That mistake changed my life." Audiences leaned in, some scoffing at first, but his raw talk won them over. "Diversity ain't charity, it's rocket fuel. Our team's 55% women in POC now, innovation tripled, profits up 34%. Elizabeth had her own arc, arms crossed in her first session with Dr. Ramirez. "I was just filming, didn't think." Elena pushed back gently but firmly. "Your words amplified harm. Clueless. That sent a message." Elizabeth squirmed, defenses crumbling over weeks. Now her Instagram shifted, amplifying diverse voices, followers climbing for real reasons. "Accountability sucks at first," she posted, "but it's growth." Young pros DM'd her. "How'd you bounce back?" She replied honestly, "Face the mess, fix it." William ran the inclusion initiatives, his hire of Dr. Ramirez as Chief Diversity Officer sealing the shift. Culture surveys glowed. 89% felt safe sharing ideas. Bias reports at 0 for months. Innovation submissions skyrocketed 156%. client satisfaction hitting records. He cornered Henry in the hall one day. "Dad, this stuff works. Remember fighting it?" Henry clapped his shoulder. "Son, I was blind. Now, we're stronger." The ripple hit broader. Fortune 500s clamored for the Jenkins method. Tesla, Amazon, and Goldman lined up for consults. LaToya's inbox flooded, employee letters stacking in a folder. "Ms. Jenkins, your stand gave me the guts to report harassment. Management listened. My kid saw you on TV, wants to be like you." She read them late at night, fuel for the fire. Dr. Ramirez's data backed it. 67% drop in complaints, 45% patent boost, 78% retention jump, 23% revenue spike. LaToya stood before 500 execs at the National Business Summit, her voice commanding the room. "Change ain't rage, it's strategy, grit, dignity." The ovation thundered, 3 minutes strong. Henry sat in the front row, notebook out, scribbling like a rookie. "Ms. Jenkins showed me diversity's edge," he'd tell crowds later. "Blind spots? Fix 'em or lose." In quiet moments, LaToya reflected, city lights twinkling outside her window. The gala humiliation? Catalyst for a movement. Boardrooms across America buzzed with urgency. Inclusion is now table stakes. Her phone pinged, congressional call on accountability laws based on her model. She smiled, real change. One strategic strike at a time. And that's the incredible story of LaToya Jenkins. A reminder that discrimination doesn't just hurt hearts, it cripples businesses. While embracing diversity and accountability can unlock real growth and innovation for everyone. In the end, true power comes from turning pain into purpose, showing us all that change starts with one bold stand. Have you ever faced a moment of injustice that sparked your own transformation, or seen quiet strength flip the script in your life? Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear how these stories resonate with you. Stick around for next week's video, where we'll dive into another real-life tale of resilience in the face of corporate greed, proving that empathy and strategy can reshape industries overnight. Thanks so much for watching and reflecting with me today. See you soon. Take care out there.